The first time Richard Hale saw the baby, his hand froze mid-air. He was about to sign a contract in his glass-walled office when his assistant whispered, "Sir, the maid's here." With a child, outside, in the pouring rain, stood Amara, the young black woman who had once worked in his mansion. Her clothes were soaked, her hands trembling, but her eyes steady in her arms. A small baby squirmed under a thin blanket. "Please," she said softly, "I just need you to see him once." Richard's jaw tightened. "Amara, we've been through this. You left months ago. Don't start this again." But then, as lightning cracked across the sky, the baby turned, and Richard saw them. Those unmistakable gray eyes, the same rare shade as his own. For a moment, his world stopped. Months earlier, Amara had worked in the Hale estate as a live-in maid. She was quiet, graceful, and endlessly kind, especially to Richard's aging mother. The staff adored her. Richard, a wealthy hotel owner, barely noticed her at first. But loneliness has a way of breaking down walls. His wife had died years ago, and nights in that mansion grew long and silent. He'd often find Amara humming in the kitchen late at night, wiping down the marble counters after everyone had gone to bed. One night, he'd asked her why she always stayed late. She smiled softly. "When the house is quiet, I can think." That night turned into another, and another. Talks turned to laughter, and laughter turned to something they both tried to ignore. Until one evening, in a moment of weakness and comfort, everything changed. Amara tried to leave the next day, but Richard stopped her, apologizing, promising it was just a mistake. When she told him weeks later she was pregnant, his reaction was cold and immediate. "That's impossible. You're confused," he said, his voice sharp as glass. "I'm not," she whispered. "You know, I wouldn't lie." "Then you'll leave," he said, "and I'll make sure you're taken care of. But don't ever come back here claiming that child is mine." He turned his back as she wept quietly in the doorway. Months passed. Amara gave birth alone in a small apartment on the city's edge. The labor was long and brutal. When she finally saw her son's face, her heart clenched. He had his eyes. Every day, she promised herself she'd move on. But every time she looked at her baby, she saw Richard's features reflected in miniature. The same nose, the same chin, the same storm gray eyes that haunted her dreams. Then came the hospital bills, the rent, the exhaustion, and finally, the decision she dreaded to face him again. Not for money, not for sympathy, but for acknowledgement. So she waited outside his office that stormy afternoon, soaked to the bone, holding the one piece of truth she had left their son. Inside, Richard's new fiancée, Melissa, appeared in the hallway. "Who's that?" she asked, spotting the young woman and baby at the door. "No one," Richard said quickly. "Just an old employee." But Melissa frowned. "She's shivering. At least, let her in." Reluctantly, he opened the door. Amara stepped forward, clutching the child close. "Please, I'm not here to ruin your life," she said, her voice breaking. "I just want my son to know where he comes from." Richard didn't answer, but as the baby stirred, his tiny eyes opened silver gray, flecked with green. Richard's breath caught. Melissa noticed it too. "Wait, Richard. Those eyes." "Enough," he snapped, turning away. But Amara placed something on his desk. A small bracelet engraved with the initials RH. "I didn't buy this," she whispered. "You gave it to me. You said it belonged to your father." The memory hit him like a wave. That night, that gift, that promise he'd made and broken. He looked up again at the baby's face, and for the first time in his life, he couldn't speak. 2 weeks later, the rain returned, but this time, Richard drove. No chauffeur, no assistant, just him. He parked outside a small apartment complex and knocked softly. Amara opened the door, startled to see him standing there in the rain. He stepped inside, his eyes landing on the crib in the corner. The baby was awake, staring at him, the same gray eyes reflecting back, innocent and knowing all at once. Richard sank to his knees beside the crib. His hand trembled as he reached out. "He looks like me," he whispered. Amara said nothing. She just watched, tears glistening in her eyes. "I was a coward," he said finally. "I thought denying it would make it disappear. But I see now. That was my own shame talking." He took a deep breath, looking up at her. "Amara, I want to be part of his life. Not because I'm forced to, but because I need to." For a moment, silence filled the tiny room. Soft, fragile, healing. Then Amara nodded, her voice trembling. "He deserves to know you, but more than that, you deserve to know him." Richard smiled faintly, his eyes glistening. He leaned over the crib again, the baby gripping his finger with surprising strength. That small hand, dark against his pale skin, told a story no lie could erase. As the rain tapped gently against the window, Richard whispered, "I'm sorry, my son." The camera would fade on that image. A man who once turned away from truth, now holding it in his arms, Love isn't about color or class, it's about courage. The courage to see what's right in front of you and choose love over pride.